Welcome to our Devos. We're talking about how you are made for this. You were called to this season. You were called to the church at this time, and we together are going to finish strong. We're in a miraculous season of the church's building, and seeing what God is doing and seeing what God has already brought to pass, it's a cause for celebration. And one of the things you have to realize when you're working on something that's really long and something that's difficult to do, it's important to understand that faith enables you to finish what God starts. Faith enables you to finish what God starts. And I know I'm reminiscing a lot, but I think since in the spirit of what we're talking about with the campaign, I think it's important. One of the things that was the craziest moment for me was when Pastor Mike and I were trying to buy the church's land. And we were going after the owner. I know some of you, you've been hearing the story a lot, but we were going after the owner. The owner had no interest in selling. And for what you see that's represented in like two video clips. The video clip where Pastor Mike claims the land, he prays, puts his pulpit on the land. That was in 2012. And then the next clip is in 2013. But that journey actually started for Pastor Mike in 2005. And then for me and him talking about it, we started talking about that land like 2008, 2009, and started trying to figure out a way to acquire it. But here's what's amazing, and this is what's crazy. All of that time that took, that came to pass in the middle, it seemed like such a blur. Like we were doing so many other things. And then there was the one day when we went to purchase the land, and we would always stop. There's a little pizza shop right across from where Coon's headquarters is. I've never been inside the pizza shop, but it's like a sacred space. It really is. And we would stop and pull in that parking lot, and we would get out and we would pray before we would go in. And we would just pray, God, let them sell us the land. Like we didn't have any really elaborate prayers because we didn't know what to expect. We knew that they were meeting with us. We knew they wanted to lease the land, but prayed. And so the last day, I'll never forget this, when we went in, when they offered to sell us the land, both of us were we weren't miserable, but we were just kind of tired of this because we were going to negotiate for the lease. Nobody wanted to do a lease. The board didn't want to do a lease. We didn't want to do a lease. We wanted to own the land. So we were going in for the final negotiation. We were going to bring the number before the church. It was going to be some exorbitant number for us to be able to lease on the land. And we prayed, and it was like, I felt like it was half-hearted. For me, it was half-hearted. I was like, God, let them sell us the land. And it was just so unnerving when we got in the room and there was this team of lawyers there, and I was upset because the owner had called me the night before and said we didn't need a lawyer, and I thought that we would, and we already had a lawyer, and I'm like, okay, you're broadsiding us. He goes, no, it's not that kind of a meeting. He just looked at us, he goes, do you guys really want to buy this? And I was just speechless. I was completely, I gobsmacked. I had any word for what that moment felt like. I mean, I will remember it until the day I die. And Pastor Mike was confident, yes, we're definitely going to buy it, 100%. He says $2 million, 30 days. They have another property they're looking at. Yes, we can do that, no problem. And neither of us, even though we had the conversation after, I didn't really fret about it. He didn't really fret about it. Where are we going to get the money? We had made that joke. I said, we don't have $2 million. Where are we going to get it? He goes, I don't know, but God will figure it out. We said that in the parking lot. And it was all of that waiting and all that led up to that enabled us to say, okay, you know what? This is God's deal. He started this thing, and as long as we're alive and we've been after this, God is going to enable us to get this land. This is his idea. This is not, it's easier. It will be way easier, just so you know, it will be easier for us as pastors to stay up on this hill. We have a good thing going on. We have a good system. All we have to do is just maintain, hey, this is as far as we're going to grow. This is as big as we will be. We'll come up with some innovations. But no, we knew that God wanted us to expand the church. We knew that God wanted us to have visibility. That was God's idea. It wasn't ours. So when the moment came where there was this massive mountain, most pastors, I don't think of like, hey, can you come up with $2 million? People would say, oh, I don't know. That's a lot of money. We knew, yes, we can figure this out. And God delivered us from that and enabled us to get a loan very quickly, enabled us to close on that loan very quickly so we could purchase the land. My point is this: your faith will enable you to finish whatever God starts. Once you realize that you're on the right track, once you realize that you've waited, once you realize that this has been something that God wants for your life, he enables you to take that final step across the goal line. It says in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 36, "For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised." The will of God, the promise of God, firmly in your mind enables you to look at every obstacle as temporary. The problem is, without faith, every single obstacle becomes the end of the story. I've talked to people that have lost loved ones, and when they lose a loved one and that partner dies, that spouse dies, that parent dies, that child dies, they might as well die. They stop like a record screeching, and they never get out of that rut because they've lost the faith to realize that the pain of that moment is an obstacle that God is going to enable them to overcome. The pain does not ever completely go away from some things. The sorrow doesn't ever completely go away from some things. But God will enable you through faith to look past it and say, I can get through this. I can make it through this. And when we look at our lives this way, we can finish. We were made for this. We were made to endure. We were made to be people who have endurance through faith by Christ's gifting of his promise in our lives. And the more that we settle on those promises, the stronger we will be to conquer the mountains that are placed before us.